From the ECSI Sports Studios and the #1 sports investors in America, we bring you the closing bell. As the market closes, legends Jeff Dawson and Riley Magnuson bring you all the sports investing tips for tonight's matchups. If you want to learn more from the two legends at the desk, make sure you stay tuned to the closing bell. ECSI fans, do you want to revolutionize your sports investing habits? Allow me to tell you about WagerWire. WagerWire is an app that helps you become a superior bettor by allowing you to sync all of your sports books and track all of your bets in one place. See your current action, your betting history, and stats. You can also sign up for sportsbooks and collect bonus offers. Follow them at WagerWire on X, as they're the best account on the platform. Head to the App Store or Play Store now and search WagerWire to download the app.
Good afternoon, sports fans from all around the globe. I am the co-host, Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors, and this is your closing bell for Monday, October 23rd, 2024. Just last full week of October, as Halloween is on its way, and we turn the calendar. I think it's next Wednesday. It might be confusing, but I think it's next Wednesday. Yeah, next Wednesday, November 1st, the start of college basketball. But who's talking about it? I am, of course. Shout out to the gentleman behind the glass, Joseph Shea, Evan Lewis, Olu Bennett, and of course, Kate Horton. And of course, shout out to our new partnership and sponsor, WagerWire. If you have not downloaded the app, please go to Google Play or wherever you download your apps. Download it. It's free. Book, sync, whatever the word you want to use. All your wagers with all these brilliant available sports books. Obviously, each state is different. Keep track of your ROI. Keep track of your daily wages. You know, what we do here since January 1st, 2015, thanks to our fabulous accountant, Mr. Scott Kelly. And of course, if you're looking to make a little side hustle, send an email to affiliate@wagerwire.com. Tell them JD from ECSI sent you. Travis, Zach, and that team will take good care of you. So without further ado, let's bring in the co-host of this show, Mr. Riley Magnuson. Good evening, sir. How art thou?
Good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. Happy Monday, happy new week, my friend. I'm doing all right on this fine, depending on who you talk to, Victory Monday, whatever it is Monday. But I am feeling good. Not necessarily Victory Monday in my household, but as far as my allegiances are concerned. But not a bad week at all as far as the sports world is concerned. A fun weekend of action. So. Feeling all right, feeling great on this Monday. We got, obviously, Game 6 of the NLCS getting underway right now as we speak, and another one, Game 7 tonight on top of Monday Night Football. So I am feeling good today, excited for what we got going on in the sports world tonight, and I'm sure recap a little bit of what we just went down. You just already mentioned, you and I haven't heard anyone other than these two guys right here talk about college basketball starting up soon, but for anyone who's trying to get that scratch that itch, we're teasing a little bit here. So I'm sure you and I will get a deeper dive here before we know it here. And shoot, don't look now, but NBA season tips off tomorrow, which just seems asinine to say out loud. So I am ready to rock and roll, my friend. As I said, obviously excited for another Monday night game on top of what we got elsewhere in the sports world as well tonight.
Well, I could turn this into a 2-3 hour show, which I would never do to you. I do want to recap the weekend. I do want to say I did get my Avalon magazine over the weekend as we got 2 or 3 more inches of rain on the Cape here on Saturday. Couldn't find the Street and Smith one I usually get as well. Did some some research over the weekend, so that's for another show. Just want to quickly, as you said, Game 6, Arizona and the Phillies. Phillies were able to slow the Snakes' momentum, grabbing that big important Game 5, take a 3-2 lead. And we know, listen, hats off to the Diamondbacks. It's been an amazing run, which most people forgot started in Milwaukee, and then they breezed through the Dodgers, and of course now up against the Phillies, which, as most of us know, I stated loud and clear the winner of the Phillies Braves series was going to win the NL and then most likely win the World Series. The numbers, my overnight number was Phillies minus 170. You could have grabbed the D-backs plus 153, and 8 under minus 15 cents. Closed at the Circa at 8 under minus 20 cents with the Phillies at 182, D-backs 165. Listen, I'm cheering loud and proud for the Snakes. I really am. But at the end of the day, I'll just go on record. I think too much Phillies, too much home cooking. They'll feed off a NOLA early, maybe put up a crooked number. This has got, I'm going to go 5-3-6-2 written all over it, Riley.
Yeah, I can't hate on it too much either. I mean, you could even get both these pitchers looking great, and at the end of the day, the Phillies are still going to be, this crowd is still going to be hanging around if it's a close game in the 7th, 8th, and 9th inning. So I'm with you. I know we said, at least maybe I said, you feel good about the Diamondbacks at least getting it to 7 with the 2 guys they had, but now you get 1 down and not without the win. Obviously, this one is not feeling as great here. So I'm kind of with you. I'll go a little lower scoring. I'll go 3-2 Phillies is what I'll go today.
I 2 outs already. All right, we'll circle back to that one there, and then of course we'll get into the nightcap later. I wanted to do some recap, and I'm gonna go right to the Big Ten to start. And you know what? You cannot, I repeat, you cannot shit on a team and then turn around and then use that win against the team to say, therefore, we're number 1. And I'm talking about Ohio State here. And first and foremost, to all the Penn State fans, to all the Penn State backers that say, yep, same old James Franklin, can't win the big one, play a real team, and look what happens. I remember they said the same thing about Jim Harbaugh in Michigan, how they couldn't beat Ohio State. Well, they whooped their ass 2 years in a row. They've made the big dance the last 2 years, and they're probably the favorite to get to the Final Four and maybe the championship game. But I'm going to go back to what I'm talking about is after Ohio State wins and after all the Penn State naysayers, come out of the woodwork on Twitter and social media, all the Ohio State backers are saying, see, we're the best team. We've played the toughest schedule. We just knocked off Penn State. Oh, by the way, we beat Notre Dame. Well, that was a 2-loss Notre Dame team that last week destroys USC. Well, USC just lost also to Utah on Saturday. So you might want to, just slow your roll there, number 1. Number 2, if you didn't watch the game, and this was the game changer, and please correct me if I'm wrong, I saw a Penn State team pick up a ball and run it down the field for 50, 60, 70 yards for a touchdown. And miraculously, the phantom flag just happened to pop up, and that was overturned. Refresh my memory. Correct me if I'm wrong. Did I miss something there, Riley?
No, that was by far the play of the game. As someone who, as I told you, I was a believer in this Penn State team, and I'm drawing a blank exactly what point of the game that was. I think it was the first half, if I'm not mistaken. I absolutely was the turning point in the game, because you had, to that point even, you had an offense in Penn State that was struggling, and to give them credit, this defense played about as well as it needed to play in that game, Penn State, to set them up. And Drew Aller who I had high hopes for, was absolutely abysmal, who probably himself didn't deserve to win that game. But throughout the entire thing, you're saying, man, Kyle McCord's also not playing that great. He's at least having a few more moments than Drew Aller was. We need a defensive turnover or big play or something like that to win that game. And you're right. Even if they had just turned that ball over, let alone taken it to the house, it probably would have been the turning point of that game. It hadn't been taken off the board because I want to say they ended up getting 7 on that drive. If I'm not mistaken, maybe I'm talking mistaken.
No,
I believe
they did.
ended up getting, that was the 7. So no, and I mean it was if it wasn't 3-3 at that point, it was 6-3
No.
Penn State. I want to say it was 3-3. So
3-3. It was a 14-point swing.
Yeah, 100%. A 14-point swing. You got the Penn State faithful that is there going nuts. And again, I'll say it again. The Penn State, you take that off the board, that's 3 points for Ohio State's offense in that game. Obviously, they would have gotten the ball back, but up until the fourth quarter, Penn State's defense did every single thing that it needed to do to put that other team in the position to win that game. And then you look at Drew Aller, and it's 18 for 42. That's obviously the where you're pointing at why they lost that game. But when that's happening and your defense plays that well, you got to have that defensive play stand like that. So I'm with you. It wasn't as big of a gap as what it wasn't because Penn State's offense was really bad. I mean, credit to Ohio State's defense, they were very good in that game, but Penn State, in my opinion, is still a top 10 football team in college football, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think as we're getting closer to November and December, the cream rising to the top. Michigan was a 3.5 point favorite, I think, in 2 weeks in Penn State. Michigan just keeps on rolling. And boy, did they take Michigan State to the woodshed. And again, by far, Team Khaki, Jim Harbaugh's best team he's ever had. And of course, now the witch hunt on pulling a Bill Belichick and going to these games and stealing signs here, just anything to try to distract them. But I'm going to further along. I talked about a tough spot for Washington coming off the emotional win against Oregon, and they were very fortunate to win there. USC losing outright at home. No Cam Rising still to Utah. They're done with 2 losses. Clemson losing to Miami. Now 3 losses for Yabba Dabba Doo. You're gone. An Alabama team that last week had an amazing first half against Arkansas and had to hold on tight. At halftime, the Vols were pumping their chest, and we're like, oh, my God. I'm saying to myself, well, I guess I was wrong here. A Saban halftime speech and roll tide roll as they stepped on the gas and took care of business. Week off, and next week play LSU. Your thoughts on what you saw overall in college football on Saturday?
And maybe you mentioned it already that the 2 Big 12 teams surviving was the fact that if they lost, it might have been some of the headliners of the day, Oklahoma and Texas, but those teams skating by. I think both those teams are really good, but they're also obviously Quinn Ewers going down is kind of leaving Texas vulnerable themselves too, obviously there. So. It's interesting because either of those teams, if they can run the table, have obviously Oklahoma, if they're undefeated, they'll be in the top 4. But Texas themselves, if they run the table, they'll still be in shape to get into that top 4. So that was interesting to see. I mean, you kind of Texas case get a little help as well as far as maybe a little late interjection from the officials in that one as well. I was trying to. I think Oregon is the team that I know I think you've had belief in as well that kind of quietly took care of business, only beat Washington State by 2 scores, but that's a solid Washington State team. And I want to say they kind of held them at arm's length for most of that game. So that was good to see for if you're an Oregon backer there. What was the other one that I was going to say? Not anything that anyone else cares about, but the overturned fair catch heard around the world in the Big Ten circles, at least as far as Iowa. And you steered me away. I sort of patting myself on the back. You were 100% right in telling everyone to stay away. I said I'm crazy enough to take Minnesota plus 3.5. So I'm sitting in my couch with my hands on my head saying there's no way that just happened, and then jumping up for joy when it gets turned around. Because Iowa's offense it's Iowa's offense again, all over again. It is horrific. But obviously nobody cares there. UNC is the one team who you pencil them in as a team that has a chance because they're in the ACC. If they go undefeated, they're obviously, good chance they're getting in. Lose a terrible, terrible loss to Virginia. That obviously you can pencil them out, even if they're a one-loss team, unless there's carnage everywhere else. But again, obviously, I'm sure most people weren't really penciling them in anyways. But obviously, the ACC is a little up for grabs there. So aside from that, that Utah USC game. I mean, you and I talked about it. It was one of those we kind of talked about it. It looks like it should be a game where USC bounces back, but the second you count Utah out, they're going to smack you in the mouth, and that's what they did there. So. And you know what? The one that I didn't see at all of, and just looking at the scoreboard, seems like it was a bizarro game, is the Washington 15-7 taking care of business at home against a bad Arizona State team. Seems a little concerning. Was down 7-3. Again, that was admittedly out of all the teams we're talking about, the one I saw just about none of. I think that was a later game there, and expected them to win a little easier there. So. Again, I know you had wished, I think it was Oregon had beaten them because as good as Washington is, you look at their schedule. They've got USC at USC, home for Washington, home for Utah, at Oregon State, and home for Washington State. So out of those 4 games, tough to imagine they skate through all of those. And then, again, maybe if they're an undefeated team going through that schedule, then, probably they're safe at that point. But it's tough to imagine they go through that schedule unscathed there. So, and obviously Georgia was dormant there. So, and I think the only team I didn't mention that's in the picture is Florida State, who kind of another team that took care of business. They're going to be an interesting case of can they get through. I mean, there's no massive game standing in their way, but that Miami team, as we talked about, that Miami-Clemson game was a little bit of a goofy one that Miami ended up standing up for and getting the win. So not a team that you can push. They should beat them if they want to be that team, Florida State, but not a team that you can push over. It's not quite penciling Florida State in as much as it looks like they're a team that probably has the safest path to get to the top 4, I guess I would say, as it looks right now in Florida State there.
And it's funny because I was going to go next to Florida State and applaud them. I think it was right before kickoff. I don't know if it was Ben Falls or someone tweeted. Someone put like 200,000 on Duke plus 13.5, plus 14, or plus 14.5, and end of the first, halftime, end of the third, was sitting there, had to feel great. And Florida State just turned it on in the fourth quarter. And as you alluded to, I have not been giving them enough credit, and I really should start to. I mean, they took care of business against LSU, opening game of the year, and not a lot of these big-time programs will come out of the woodwork first game of the year and take on an opponent like that. It's back-to-back years now they have done that, and back-to-back years they've beaten LSU. They went into Clemson, and the game we had Clemson, and it was a bad turnover, a strip sack return for a touchdown, and then, of course, the missed field goal by Clemson late for the win there. So they're slowly taking care of business, and it kind of watching them in the third and fourth quarter. I kind of smiled and I looked to the skies above because it started to remind me of a Bobby Bowden team from back in the day, offensively and defensively, the Charlie Ward era, way back. I used to love watching them and riding in, on the horse and then planting, and then the chants go. And I mean, it was must-watch TV. Bobby with the hat on, and they got that feeling where I'm just, it's usually the day after Thanksgiving where it's that rivalry Friday, and you probably think they'll probably favor, my guess is 13 or so against Miami. You never know on these rivalry games what's going to happen. But as you stated clearly, a clear path for them, just take care of business. And there's no way if they cheat that they're not in the Final Four.
Right, and they do have, to give a tough Florida team who is obviously not really in that picture, they do still got to go through Florida at the end of the year, non-conference, so that, I guess, could be more of a tough game if they can get to Miami, and then it's like, we still got to get up for Florida here before they obviously would go to the ACC championship. But no, when you look at Michigan and Ohio State, you got Michigan who's got Penn State and Ohio State left. Ohio State's obviously got Michigan left. And Georgia's got a couple teams themselves. So it is, and then the path that we just laid out for Washington. So Florida State's obviously got the easiest path from here. I know any of these. I don't even know if we need to have this conversation. Is there any? I do wish that this was the year where we started the 8 team or 12 team, whatever we're going to, because this one does feel like a year where you might get an upset or two in that first round, as it compared to the last couple of years where Georgia's going to run through it and maybe Georgia runs through it again. But any team, I know Alabama, you and I've talked about, and we both kind of agreed that Alabama's certainly a team that's still got a legitimate shot to get into there. Any of these other one-loss teams that you think has more of a chance that people are giving them to make noise and make this thing interesting to get into the top four?
Well, again, Oregon, one loss, again, could get in Pac-12 revenge spot against the Washington. Me and Ron on Fridays have been talking the last few weeks. Circle the Washington at Oregon State game, because I think Oregon State is the team that's going to break the hearts of a lot of teams late in the Pac-12 there. So Oregon to sheet. And then maybe face a one-loss Washington team there. In the Big 12, kind of comical, we had the Oklahoma team total over, and that was the high noon game. And you know what? The funny thing is, the last Saturday we go 4-0, and it's how you start the day that's on Saturday seems how you finish the day. We breezed 4-0. So we get the Oklahoma team total. I thought they would be early and often. First drive, missed field goal. Second drive, touchdown. Third drive, missed field goal. And then they just played grab ass the rest of the way, hoping that UCF could have got the 2-point conversion and then been 31-31, maybe get 2 possessions each in overtime to get that number there. And then the funny thing is, to add salt, whatever I'm trying to say here, we had the UNLV team total over later in the night against Colorado State, and not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, but 6 field goals by UNLV. I couldn't get 6 field goals in a month from a college kicker. And so we came up short there as well.
And we mentioned Miami Clemson. I do need to give my thanks to the Miami goal line defense, because I had under 48.5. That game finished with the Miami goal line stop to keep the game total at 48. So I do need to give my thanks to the Miami goal line defense, because 17-17 going in overtime. As it's going in overtime, I'm not feeling good. But for the entire game, I'm feeling good. And then Miami gets a field goal to tie it. And I'm hoping that Clemson's got a late drive to end the game there, and then it goes to overtime back and forth, and I'm kind of writing it off, and then 4 tries to get in the end zone, they can't do it. So I was fist pumping in my bed at 11 o'clock on Saturday night on watching that one to its end there. So no, and aside from that, I don't think – actually, the only – as far as obviously going back to the Big Ten, not as much of a national conversation, but Wisconsin pulling a rabbit out of their hat. That line was wonky, and Illinois had that game under control. But what is it, 21-17 blown lead, and Wisconsin runs through the door in the fourth quarter there, and I believe covers. I think it was they covered most numbers, I think, there. So that one keeps them with Iowa's loss, puts them kind of, I don't know if driver's seat is the right word. I was looking at their schedules today, and I know Wisconsin's got Ohio State, but the Big Ten West, whoever is meeting that, whoever's standing Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State, whoever it is going to get shoot. Nebraska's not dead yet, I guess is the way that's looking. Whether or not you think they're good enough for that is crazy. But Nebraska and Minnesota somehow are very much alive in the Big Ten West conversation. So.
Going to transition into the NFL, which we all know stands for not for long. I sent out the ECSI VIPs. I wrote a little NFL Sunday sermon on it. I said, and I'm still waiting, no one's replied, whoever had the Patriots not only covering, but winning outright against the Buffalo Bills. Now, this is a team that got steamrolled 31-0 at home to the Saints. They travel to Vegas and they lose to a Vegas team in Vegas, and then they come home. It was the opening line was 8.5. It was stagnant at 8.5, went to 7.5. And the Patriots can't score in the first quarter. We know that. And of course, they struggle for the first half, scoring 3-0, 10-0 Patriots lead. Red flag for sure. Something's going on in Buffalo. I don't know if Josh Allen is hurt. Again, after the Hamlin injury in Cincinnati on that Monday night, they haven't been the same. And they come in this year. They lose opening day at the Jets. 4 plays in, Rodgers is gone to Zach Wilson. Then they just started to steamroll Vegas at Washington. They come back home, dismantle Miami. So now we're starting to put them back to where they belong. Well, they go over to London against a Jaguar team waiting for them, laid an egg. Last Sunday, they played grab ass to a Daniel Jones-less New York Giant team and sneaked by with a victory. So here come the Patriots. This is a get well spot, lay an egg. You know, the locals here are still stunned. I mean, we were getting ready for the collapse for Caleb, and now, unfortunately, we got 2 wins.
Yeah, I was not in the company of having it. I've thought about it because it's a situation where I had the Patriots in a couple spots the last few weeks, and they burned me a little too hard in a little too embarrassing fashion for me to dive in against this Bills team. But no, you're right. Something is wrong defensively. They've obviously lost a couple players, and that's kind of dropped their defensive ceiling a little bit, and it's a little concerning from that respect because their offense just isn't quite creative enough. I don't know if creativity is what you need or what it is. I think they averaged under 4 yards per carry on the ground. James Cook was okay, but Latavius Murray they keep throwing in there and did not look good the other day or did not look good yesterday. So no, it's a Patriots offense that obviously had been trying to get out of that spell that I was in, as you know so well. So I don't know. Is this are you expecting the Patriots to build off of this, or is this? I mean, you said it was a red flag for the Bills. Is this more of just something's wrong in Buffalo, or do you think there's actually something to build off of this for New England's sake?
I would say we used to start slow 2-2 in September and then build from there. And then once they got to their bye week, would just take off. You would think this would be a good jumping off point. Unfortunately, the NFL schedule makers said not so fast. They traveled to Miami coming off a loss. And before I go into that game, again, most of the people were saying perfect spot for Philly coming off a loss. Home, we're going to get some home cooking. A fun first half. Jalen Waddle gets hurt. Hats off to him coming back. I don't play this card, Riley, and I'm just going to make this public. I talked to a few colleagues here. We do know that in the NFL, they could call a penalty on every play. There was a blatant face mask on a 4th down play missed last night, and I tweeted about it. And then 2 plays later, there was a pick 6 Miami for a touchdown. So I said karma. But I find it hard to believe that at the end of the game, Riley, the Miami Dolphins had 10 penalties called on them, and most of them were false starts, offensive offsides, now they call it, some stupidity. The Philadelphia Eagles had no penalties called on them last night. The goose egg, 0 zip, not one. At least throw 1 or 2 at the end of the game when they're down 14 to make it look like you weren't like this. I mean, come on. Not one?
I'm with you. And you and I, we both say that we're not those guys. And but it's hard not to be that guy in this situation, especially in a game like that. So I'm not disagreeing with you at all. And frankly, whether or not they were in important situations or not, there's been some bizarro penalties that need to be cleaned up. And whoever's I'm drawing a blank on what the title of who's in charge of the referees is. But I mean, there's been some bizarro false start plays at the line of scrimmage, where in the past few years they haven't been calling the tackles will get off early and they don't call that. They've been a little better at this, but now it happened in the Packers game, and there was another one where they mistook the center the Packers center moved the ball, but in a fine way, and they gave him the penalty at a bad time. And then there was another game. It might have been the Miami Philly game where they thought the center's other hand was the right guard's hand, so they called it offensive offside. I want to say it was that Philly Miami game, and it was against Miami. I could be wrong there, but there's been some bizarro penalties, and whether it's influence in the game or not intentionally is not what I'm saying, but something needs to be cleaned up a little bit there. So I'm not against it there. Elsewhere in the league, I mean, the Chiefs' offense looked fantastic. Travis Kelce was a monster. Chargers did not have enough answers there. Steelers' defense made the Rams' offense kind of made the Rams look like the team a lot of people expected that Rams team to look like. I think the Rams offensively can probably get out of that because that Steelers' defense is good. As I know we're talking NFL, but back-to-back solo shots for Arizona to make it 2-0 in the top of the second here, right in front of my eyes is what I'm seeing here. But anyways, how about you know what? I've got in my Dynasty Fantasy League, I had to give my buddy crap for it. Bijan Robinson, obviously not getting some. If this was Christmas time, it would be getting some coal in his stocking right now. Full pads, and hey, if you're not feeling good and you're out of sorts, then I get it. But tough to swallow, tough pill to swallow as a fantasy owner. And obviously, if the Falcons had lost that game, even tougher pill to swallow for Falcons fan. Bijan Robinson just not feeling well and in full pads, but not feeling well, and gets 3-4 snaps total or something like that.
A lot of nuggets you, excuse me, just uncovered. Yeah, Bijan pulled the T. Higgins. It was near the end of the season as we're getting close to the end of the regular season, getting ready for the playoffs last year. T. Higgins, game time decision. He told everyone, don't worry about it, I'm playing. First snap, he does a 5-yard button hook to the sidelines, takes off his helmet, and he goes, I'm all set. I'm not playing the rest of the day. So Bijan yesterday, everyone's wondering, 6 snaps in the first half, no touches, and the social media was in an uproar, like what the hell's going on with Bijan? Arthur Miller comes out at halftime, he's not feeling that well, he's got a headache, blah blah blah. So bad look for all fantasy. I do have him in one spot. That team is so far back. I feel bad for my good friend I went to high school with, now living in Iowa. Shout out to Billy Hutchinson. We've been at the helm working on these things forever. He drafted in our family league way back Kurt Warner when he was bagging groceries. He goes, I'm taking a swing on Kurt Warner. I think he's coming back. And sure enough, he came back and he won him the local league there. So bad look there. But I want to go back to a couple points. I talk about this Pittsburgh team. You talked about their defense and everyone poo-pooing Kenny Pickett. And I said, guys, you have to realize his number one receiver, Deontay Johnson, was taken away from him. So what that does is it moves Pickens to the 1. Deontay is the possession receiver. Okay. And Freiermuth has been out. Now what I said out loud was bye week. Deontay's coming back. Freiermuth's coming back. He's got his full arsenal. And Jalen Warren slowly pushing Najee Harris out of the way. Well, I was correct on everything, but Freiermuth had a setback and is now on the IR for 4 weeks. So that big Georgia tight end's got to pick the offense up real soon. Or Pittsburgh needs to go grab someone off the scrap heap or do something there. Now 3-0, by the way, Diamondbacks. So keep an eye on those Steelers. Getting back to Kansas City, listen, guys, you are witnessing Bill Belichick and Tom Brady 2.0 here. The combination of Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, and Travis Kelce. Does it sound familiar? Bill Belichick, Tom Brady, and Gronk. It's the exact same thing. There is no one on the planet that's going to beat this. But I do have one scenario, and I'm going to add that in a second. So this Kansas City team, next man up. Chargers now 2-4. Everyone's saying Herbert's not a great quarter. Guys, it's not Herbert. Okay,
No.
it's the head coach Staley. And that left hand, it's not his throwing hand, it's his left hand. Watch him when he's falling, when he's getting tackled. No Big Mike. I'm not making excuses because they'll probably be my survivor team this week as the Bears travel to the Chargers. But my point is, this team will turn it around. Trust me on that. And it might not be this year. It will be when they fire Staley there. Now, if you haven't been watching Lamar Jackson and you're the ones reading the press clippings or social media saying he can't throw, he sucks, oh my God, he's abysmal, you're just not watching the games. This guy is having a year. He has taken it to the next level. The last 2 and 3 weeks, 7 drops, 6 drops. Hats off to the OC of the Ravens. He put up almost 35 fantasy points in the first half. And my point is, in came the Lions, the one-loss Lions, the undefeated Lions on the road, and they made them look like Josie and the Pussycats. I don't know what you want to say. 28-35 nothing at half. I'm going to go on record right here. It's 5:40 on October 23rd. I'm going to give you a nugget right now. If this happens, the Ravens will be in the Super Bowl. I said if. There's a player that has been on the trading block last offseason, been talked about this season, and after their dismal loss, it's time to cut bait. His name is Chase Young. Add Chase Young to the Ravens defense with the way the offense is playing. The Ravens are the only team that can beat Kansas City. So we got the 31st is the trade deadline. I'm going out here on record saying Baltimore Ravens, call up Washington and ask for the price point for Chase Young, and I'll go pick him up for you in D.C.
I don't hate it at all. I don't hate it at all. And the crazy part is credit to their defense. Their defense has been fantastic up until this point anyways. And that's one where you could just add a pass rusher and they become that much better. So I am not disagreeing with you at all. I mean, from the Lions' perspective, we've had a lot of respect for the Lions here. I think this is probably a spot where they can recover from this and be great after this. Is this kind of a benchmark game? A little bit. And the crazy part is Lamar Jackson was 21 of 27. I don't know what that is, 85% or whatever it is. It was a 15, 25 mile an hour wind. If you're like making excuses for the Lions, it's like, well, Jared Goff, that's not a very good, it's very windy, tough to make throws. Lamar Jackson was 85% or whatever the heck that percentage is. So he was fantastic there. So, and the crazy part is he probably could have, he had the rushing touchdown, but it's not like he had a run longer than 10 yards either. So it's not like you can look at that game and say, well, the Lions just couldn't stop Lamar from running. No, they couldn't stop his ass excuse my language, from dicing him all over the damn field. So I've been a huge Lamar supporter, so that one was fun to watch for me. I was on the Ravens yesterday, so that one, I was from a football perspective of that being one of the headline games of the day, I was a little sad because I was expecting that game to be awesome. And it wasn't, obviously, but no, that was give us some damn respect type of game from the Ravens, who had been pretty good to this point, just hadn't really stepped on anyone's throat like that, obviously. So their schedule does get tough, but I mean, especially when you got the Bengals struggling like they are, the Browns up and down a little bit. I mean, it's pretty conceivable to say they should be, the clear favorites here for the division there. Anywhere else to go before we move on to any other games? I mean, obviously, I don't feel like I need to give too much of an update on what's going on with the Packers. Everyone has seen it so far. I mean, whatever they're doing out of the halftime they're leading the NFL in points per game in the second half. So whatever they got to do to tell themselves that they're losing by 3 scores to start the game, by all means, go ahead and give us some opening first half offense for once this season, because the defense hasn't been fantastic. It's been very good in the red zone, and that's what's kept them in this game. But if their red zone defense was bottom half of the league. We would be looking at this Packers team as a clear bottom 5 in the league right now. So credit to the red zone defense of the Packers for, setting themselves up like they have that game. But no, I offensively, they got to do something else in the first half. Aaron Jones against that Broncos defense, if he's healthy, then let him loose and let him give him 20 carries. If he's not healthy, then he shouldn't be in the game at all. Was kind of my perspective with that one, because they kind of babied him along there, and A.J. Dillon, at least in the second half, looked like the A.J. Dillon we've been looking for. So favored against Minnesota next week, obviously pending whatever happens tonight, but favored at home against Minnesota next week. But obviously, if they lose that one at 2-5, we're in ugly sledding, and we're in the oh man, what did you say? Was it collapse for Caleb? Is that what you said for your Patriots? I'm not putting the Packers quite in that tankathon necessarily, but if they're 2-5, then obviously the conversation is going to be had there.
I'll go down the injury train for you. I'll stay on your Packers. I was high on this guy, and he was falling perfectly in the 3-4 spot. I'm very fortunate I only got him in 1 or 2 spots. Never draft him again. That's Christian Watson. So disappointed in him. Made it through training camp, made it through preseason, gets injured on the week before opening day. Nowhere to be found for 3 or 4 weeks. Played last night, got hurt again. I'm not going to blame it all on Love. With Aaron Jones being hurt as well. Wicks looks okay. Dubs made a couple catches. The fact of the matter is there's something wrong there. And just go down to that last drive, for instance, that thought process by Love. He was open, but there's a safety back there as well. It just wasn't the smartest play. You had no reason to make that. So kind of sort of the thought process where you wanted to believe, but you had half foot in, half foot out. Unfortunately, I'm not saying what's Love got to do with it, as Tina Turner once sang, but what does Love have to do with this? We will have to figure out in the second half here. Yeah. There. And another one, my thought process on the Union, the athletes of today versus the athletes back in my time. They're divas. It all is predicated on brands, sneaker deals, music deals, TV deals, 2K ratings. Get something tweaked. Put me into the tent. I'm out for that game. Wins our bye week. Deshaun Watson, who was cleared 2 weeks ago to play, all of a sudden has this deep bone contusion that no one knows when he's going to be healthy. Miraculously gets healthy and cleared on Friday to play. Comes in 2 or 3 possessions later on his back, hits his head, and he's like doing snow angels like he just got shot. And next thing you know, concussion protocol, and he's a cheerleader again, collecting checks. So I feel for the Browns. I feel for their fan base, because you know why? They busted their ass to get him there. They took the PR hit. They took the 6-game suspension. First guaranteed quarterback to get all this money, and he's just like milking the system like he's working for Gorelick milking cows.
I can't add too much to add to it, honestly, and I still don't really understand how they won that game. I mean, especially for a team that's in as weird a position as they are against that Colts team there. But obviously, I know Colts fans are upset with the refereeing in that game towards the end as well. Cleveland, if they can get any consistency on offense, they're kind of a dark horse team in the AFC. So aside from that, let's move on to tonight's Monday night game. My friend, Minnesota Vikings 2-4 hosting the 5-1 San Francisco Giants. Minnesota +7 at home. 43.5 is the game total. As far as the injuries in this one, Christian McCaffrey is good to go. He is playing. Debo is out. I think Trent Williams is still doubtful. And Minnesota, obviously, no Justin Jefferson as he's on the IR. And aside from that, for the most part, they are all right. But this one, I believe this one's been right around 7 all week long for the most part here. No Justin Jefferson. I know a lot of people are not counting on this or not believing in this Minnesota team. And I'm not saying I believe in them in the grand scheme of the season. I did tell you, though, after this game, their schedule does get a lot easier. It's still a team that is putting up a fight in just about every single one of their games. So you're either all in on this Niners team as making a bounce back, or you're in the camp of this Vikings team is going to continue to be this Vikings team. Maybe they don't win, but at least this game is going to be a roller coaster, and it's going to be a close one. Any thought that this Niners team is going to miss their injuries, and that's what keeps it close, or is this Vikings team just going to show up and make this a tough game regardless of what's going on that front?
Well, let me ask you this question. What game does this resemble the most of that just happened in the NFL on Sunday?
Let me. Buffalo, New England. Is that what we're talking about, or different one? Yep.
No. You're spot on. How many people had the Patriots cover and never mind winning that game? No one. I'll help you on that one. Let me ask you. We've been up since I've been up for 12 plus hours. Let's go back this weekend and then add today. How many people on social media have Minnesota tonight?
I don't know that I haven't any, my friend.
No, I haven't either. Okay, let me add the fact that yesterday they made it clear, even though he's dinged up, Christian McCaffrey's going to play. Have you seen the line move?
No. I have not. No.
So you got no Debo, you got no Trent Williams, which is the biggest factor, of course.
Yeah.
You got a San Francisco team coming off a loss, like Philadelphia, but the difference is Philly came home. San Fran's back on the road. Okay, I'll add a couple more factors here. San Fran team total 26.5 over, juiced 120. That's in no man's land. They're saying, of course, Minnesota's D can't stop a nosebleed. They're going to get 27, 28, 30, or 31. So go take the team total over there. And they give you the Minnesota team total of 17.5 juiced under, where everyone's going to say, well, no Justin Jefferson. Of course, it's prime time, Kirk Cousins, who we all know sucks, of course, on prime time. So therefore, they can get 17 or less. So I will tell you this: Minnesota plus 7.5 by the hook. Minnesota pizza and beer money on the outright win. And if San Fran wins, I'll go on record and say it's 24-20. How's that sound?
I'm not going to argue with you for a second, my friend. I am kind of with you, and no part because. I mean, on top of the narrative that you just drew up, the 13-4 Minnesota Vikings were, in my opinion, very rightfully described as frauds all season long. They still won 13 games because guess what? They were in all of those games that they were in, and they managed to win them. Now, this year, they just happen to be losing those games. Guess what? They're still close games. And the other part is Trent Williams gets all this respect, in conversations until it's a situation like this. And we're saying, it's the Niners, no Justin Jefferson. It's like, if you're a person that's talking about Trent Williams as maybe one of, if not, arguably one of the 5 best football players in the NFL, his absence has to mean something here. Not to mention Debo being out also, changes things up a little bit for him and everything else you mentioned. So I'm not against you by any means on any of those things. Minnesota at home also with a sense of urgency at 2-4. I am not going to count them out as well. So I am with you. You can take all the credit for you, but I like that 24. You guys should, if the Niners win, I'll say 24-21 Vikings. I'll go the other way and say the Vikings just win this damn game.
I'll throw out some fun pizza and beer props. We're going to go outside the box here. I'm not going to say CMC who is playing. If you wanted to get cute, you could maybe do a Jordan Mason or Elijah Mitchell anytime TD prop on that side. I'm going to go outside the box. I know Ayuk is his guy, but I'll go Debo's replacement, Mr. Jennings there for an anytime touchdown. And then on the Minnesota side, not going Madison. I love Jordan Addison. Everyone knows not going to go him. I'm not going to go Hawkinson. I'll go outside the box and go KJ Osborne.
Yeah, I like Osborne as well. Jennings was 450. Let's see. I need a dud from Hawkinson to give me a fantasy win tonight. I need a real dud from Hawkinson. So not going to him tonight, although he could have a nice game. You know who? Who stepped up? His odds aren't jumping off the screen at you, but Kittle stepped up in at least on paper these last couple of weeks in some of these AI guys' absence. He could be a factor there for sure. You know me, I like to go with if we're getting creative, I like to go a little backup running back action. So I'll go Cam Akers 3-1, and I'll go maybe a little Monday night tush push in Minnesota, a little Kirk Cousins. No, if that what happens, you heard it here first. But I'm not much of a QB anytime touchdown scorer like that with these guys. But I'll go Cam Akers. That's where I'm going.
No, I love it. I do. Philly gets one back, 3-1, bottom of the second, looking like this game's going to go flying over there. Let's jump into the second game, Rangers in Houston. I talked about this a week ago as this was starting out. Texas comes into Houston, wins the first two games, and of course now the season's over, of course, because Rangers will find a way that we don't get back to Houston. Well, all of a sudden the Astros wake up and they win game 3, they win game 4. And they miraculously win game 5. Now the head scratcher is like, holy shit, what's going on? Well, people got to realize that, and I'm not exaggerating, fabricating the exact numbers, but Houston in their last 20 games at home has been like 5-15, and their last 20 games on the road were like literally 17-3. And my point is, go back to the year the Nationals won the World Series against the Astros. Not one team won a home game. So I talked about this yesterday to anyone that wanted to listen, that I thought the Rangers were a live dog last night, and they come through. I think the Rangers are as live as you can get. We gave out Astros after game 1 loss, plus 165 in the series. And then after the Astros won game 5 and now up 3-2, I said to go back and grab the Rangers plus 285, as high as almost 300 in some spots or more. So we're gonna grade ourselves at least a plus 1.25, 135. It doesn't matter who wins tonight. We're gonna sit back and watch this. My original numbers in one spot had a 10. On this sheet is a 9 over minus 15 cents. Houston minus 126. Texas plus 114. Currently at the circa 126 plus 115 with a 9 over 15 cents. Anyone that got the ECSI VIP alert, they know where we are in this full game. I just think there's going to be a lot of runs scored. I think this is a all hands on deck, obviously. I lean to the Rangers. I think they're going to keep it going. I know Mad Max is on the mound. I don't think either starter will have a decision in this game. I'm going to go on record. First one to 5 or 6 wins this game. I see this as a 6-4, maybe 6-5 Ranger final.
I'm not going to disagree with you too much. And the one thing that I'll add today, as far as Christian Javier, I mean, I personally, I have some belief that Mad Max could show some flashes and give everything he's got. And I'm not saying be vintage Mad Max, but at least, I mean, kind of how we've seen Verlander the last couple of years at certain times, not being himself, but at the same time, kind of labor through some of these starts. And the next thing you know, he's handing the ball off and he's only giving up 1-2 runs. Wouldn't surprise me there. Wouldn't surprise me if he gives up a handful. As far as Javier, I mean, you almost have to feel like he's due to give up something. And if he's not, we got to start. And if he's not and he's dazzling, we got to start talking about him like he's the Eovaldi, the playoff bulldog. I mean, I don't think he's been in a losing effort in the playoffs since 2021 in the World Series against the Braves. I'm looking at it now. He's got 2 good starts this year, and I think it was 3 starts of winning efforts. 2 starts, one of them maybe a relief effort. Nonetheless, he's been fantastic these last 4 or 5 starts for the Astros in the playoffs. So, yeah, you kind of feel like the wheel got to fall off at least a little bit here at some point. And, again, if not, then we got to start looking at this guy as someone who is that much better in the playoffs. But so I'm with you. I don't have too much else to add other than that. This obviously has been a really fun series. Any home run props to give out before we get out of here? If we're talking about a few runs scored, we got to – actually, before I do that, anyone else see the Astros fan? I talked about it with some of my buddies. The man barehanding a home run ball in the outfield. If you didn't see it, go back to, I think it was the Mitch Garver home run. Guy in the third or fourth row just straight on bare hands a home run ball. That man needs to look for an MVP award there. But any home run props that we liked for tonight before we get on out of here?
Well, I think a prop needs to be given out to Mr. Garcia. The fact that at home hits a bomb and then did he pimp it? Yeah, it was his biggest homer ever. And he just walked and he slammed the bat down. And then, of course, gets plunked right after it, the next at bat. And you know what? Hits a granny last night. It's like,
as public enemy number one hits a granny, yeah.
Yeah. So are you kidding me? I mean, of course, now the commercial comes on, so bear with me here. The easy pick is Seager. The one that I'm rooting for, obviously, is Garcia in the Texas side there. Heim was one of those guys that has hit a few, that was our darling during the is when we started hitting the props in baseball. Heim hit a few for us. We were doing the over 1.5 bases there. But I think in a game 7, they try to stay away from the big dogs. So, I assume Seager and Alvarez are the favorites there. Seeing it's back in Houston, I always think of an Altuve. He just finds a way. I mean, the other night, Jesus, I mean, does it ever? It's almost like you say these things are scripted. Of who gets up in the top of the ninth with 2 guys on but Altuve. Anyone but the little engine that could. And what's he do? He plops it just over. So I'm still waiting for my Kyle Tucker homer. So I'm going to go Tucker on the Astros. And on Texas, I'm going back to Simeon. How's that?
I like it. I'm going to go a little off. One of these I do like. Out of the 8 spot in Texas lineup, Josh Jung plus 350. Out of the 8 spot, 3 for 5 lifetime off of Javier with a bomb previously. And then he's in the 5 spot tonight, but also solid success against Mad Max in his career. This one's a little deeper. I'll go Brantley, the old guy getting one for the Astros here as that one for plus 650. Josh Jung, though, out of the 8 spot, plus 350, kind of jumped out to me a little bit, though.
Great eyes. And, of course, you got to throw some pizza and beer on your Abreu, who's had a hell of a series.
Of course.
And he's woken up like no can remember. Where were you all regular season? I don't know. And quickly, I'll just go over here. One game on the frozen pond. And I'll just, the way my Saturday went, people will sit here and laugh. I'm just trying to bring the screen up here. Where is it? Montreal and Buffalo. We had Buffalo. It was one of those Saturdays. Like I said, 6 field goals at UNLV. Oklahoma, 2 missed field goals for the first game. We had Buffalo team total over 3.5 on Saturday night. Get 3 to go into the third, and had 2.5 minutes with an empty net and couldn't score. So stuck on stupid there as they host the Montreal Canadiens. Team total 3.5 over minus 130. So anyone looking for a little skin and revenge in the game, take the Buffalo Sabres, rotation number 64. Team total over 3.5 against the Montreal Canadiens tonight.
Sounds good, my friend. And as far as closing things up here, I'm not sure if we're doing a show. We've got NBA starting up tomorrow, so maybe we dive a little deeper into obviously what's going on tomorrow night, but maybe we give some thoughts on the NBA. Not a ton of injuries to start the season, so obviously that means within the first 2 weeks, then we'll be getting some extended leaves of absences for sure there. But some interesting points to talk about that I've been scouring a little bit there. So obviously a lot sooner than most people are looking for when the NBA starts. But hey, we've got the new the in-season tournament coming up earlier than earlier. It's gonna smack you in the mouth how quick, and you're gonna be like, "What? We're doing what in November now for basketball?" I mean, for anyone who doesn't know, it's the actual thing is in December, but there's group play. It's either Monday and Friday or Tuesday and Friday, these games. So these in-season group play tournaments are just regular season games that go towards this. So makes it a little more interesting if you needed that, but it is a little goofy. But that's going to be here, that in-season tournament. Those games start in like a week and a half. So that's going to smack you in the mouth, and you're not going to know what the hell happened to you. So nonetheless, plenty of storylines that there always is at the NBA to talk about. But aside from that, heck of a week of sports. So I'm excited to get going, starting a new week here.
In talking about the NBA, there's a wow factor, and then there's a real wow factor. And what Wembayamba has done in the preseason, I thought I saw a Charles Barkley clip that says it's not fair that someone has a genetic, I don't want to use the word imbalance, but he has now got something that no one else does to disrupt the whole NBA.
I from what I've seen, I mean, I haven't looked at numbers and whatnot for these preseason games, but I mean, he's almost no one is really safe. Teams are afraid to shoot threes and layups all at the same time. I mean, your ball movement has to be at an all-time high while making smart passes and like clockwork if you're going to try and beat this guy. So let alone in 2 years if they're able to add to this team to give him some support, for God's sakes. I mean, offensively, they still got a couple guys, but if they can add anything within the next couple years to this team and he stays intact, then he's number one pick for a reason.
And I can't believe the NBA starts tomorrow. So yes, the schedule as it sounds, I'm trying to confirm either 10 or 10:30 tomorrow morning. Breakfast Bankroll with CEO and founder Travis Geiger from WagerWire. Myself and Riley will be back on Tuesday at 5. Wednesday, Riley could be going solo as I get ready for Sports Map Radio on Wednesday night. Myself and Riley will be back on Thursday night at 5. And then we'll play Friday by ear. A big group of listings for potential shows coming up as well. So I want to thank everyone watching and listening. It was great. I love Mondays because we're able to recap on the weekend, and there's so much going on. Currently top of the third, Arizona 3-1. So I don't know, baseball probably catch 22. Yeah, it'd be nice for a game 7. Obviously for us, but Arizona wins. I mean, the Phillies win tonight, and whoever wins in the American League, World Series Friday and Saturday. The way I understand it, Riley, Astros Phillies. Astro has the home field advantage, and Phillies Rangers. I heard that the Phillies have home field advantage 2-3-2. So, and you hear I didn't say Arizona because I assume whoever wins in the American League has the home field over Arizona. So Friday, Saturday, World Series travel day on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, travel on Thursday, and then Friday, Saturday if needed. So from myself, Jeff Dawson at DC Sports Invest, the one and only Mr. Riley Magnuson at Riley_Magnuson, the one. We wish everyone a blessed day. Have some fun tonight. First day of a long, long week. Last full week of October. See you tomorrow.